The mind is the most powerful tool we possess. It shapes how we see the world, how we respond to challenges, and ultimately how we live our lives. But this tool is a double-edged sword. It can be our greatest ally, helping us build a life of clarity, strength, and purpose. Or it can be our greatest enemy, trapping us in cycles of fear, doubt, and illusion. The question is your mind working for you or against you? Imagine waking up in the morning. Your first thoughts might be about the tasks ahead, the challenges you'll face, or the mistakes you made yesterday. These thoughts can either motivate you to take on the day with confidence or weigh you down with anxiety and hesitation. This is the power of the mind. It creates the lens through which we see the world. But what if that lens is distorted? What if the stories your mind tells you aren't true? Most people assume they are in control of their thoughts. They believe that what they think is true and that their emotions are accurate reflections of reality. But the truth is, the mind often lies. It exaggerates fears, distorts perceptions, and creates narratives that hold us back. This is why mastering the mind is so important. Without this mastery, we become prisoners of our own thoughts, reacting to life rather than shaping it. Throughout history, philosophers, psychologists, and thinkers have explored this paradox. The Stoics in particular understood the mind's dual nature. They taught that while the mind is designed to guide us, it can also mislead us if left unchecked. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, reminded himself daily not to believe every thought that arose. He understood that the mind, when left to its own devices, is prone to exaggeration and distortion. Modern science supports these ancient insights. Neuroscience reveals that our thoughts are deeply influenced by habits, past experiences, and unconscious biases. These mental patterns shape how we interpret the world and often lead us to act against our own best interests. For example, a person who has experienced failure in the past might avoid taking risks. This is not because the situation is truly dangerous, but because their mind has been conditioned to associate risk with failure. The good news is that we can change this. The mind is not a fixed entity. It is adaptable and capable of growth. By learning to question our thoughts, observe our emotions, and focus on what truly matters, we can reclaim control over our mental state. This is not an easy task, but it is a worthwhile one. The journey to mastering the mind begins with awareness, recognizing that our thoughts are not always true and that we have the power to shape them. In this video, we will explore how to take control of your mind and make it work for you rather than against you. We will draw on the wisdom of the Stoics, the findings of modern psychology, and practical techniques for mental mastery. By the end, you will have the tools to break free from negative thought patterns, overcome self-doubt, and live with greater clarity and purpose. The battle for control of your mind is not fought in a single moment. It is a lifelong practice, built on small daily decisions to question, reframe, and redirect your mental energy. The question is, who is in charge, you or the voice in your head? 1. The dual nature of the mind. The mind is a paradox. On one hand, it is our greatest asset, capable of incredible creativity, problem-solving, and resilience. On the other hand, it can be our greatest obstacle, trapping us in cycles of fear, doubt, and negativity. Understanding this dual nature is the first step toward mastering the mind. Think of the mind as a storyteller. It takes fragments of reality and weaves them into narratives. Sometimes these stories are empowering. They remind us of our strengths, encourage us to take risks, and help us navigate challenges. But other times, these stories are misleading. They exaggerate dangers, amplify self-doubt, and create unnecessary suffering. For example, imagine you're preparing for a job interview. Your mind might tell you a story about how you're not qualified, how the interviewer will judge you harshly, or how you'll embarrass yourself. None of these thoughts are based on reality. They are simply stories your mind has created. Yet, if you believe these stories, they can hold you back from performing your best, or even from attending the interview at all. The Stoics understood this dual nature of the mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the importance of questioning one's thoughts. He reminded himself that external events hold no power over the mind. Only our interpretation of them does. In other words, it's not the situation itself that causes suffering, but the way we think about it. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, observed that people suffer more in imagination than in reality. He noted how the mind amplifies uncertainties, replaying past mistakes and projecting them onto the future. This creates a cycle of fear and hesitation that can be difficult to break. Yet Seneca also believed that this cycle is not inevitable. By recognizing the mind's tendency to distort reality, we can begin to challenge and change these patterns. Modern psychology echoes these insights. Cognitive distortions, patterns of thinking that exaggerate fear, reinforce negativity, or predict failure, are among the greatest sources of self-imposed suffering. For example, a person might engage in catastrophizing, assuming that the worst-case scenario is inevitable. Or they might fall into black and white thinking, believing that if they don't succeed completely, they have failed entirely. These distortions are not reflections of reality. They are habits of thought that can be unlearned. The mind's dual nature is also evident in its relationship with emotions. Emotions are powerful signals, but they are not always accurate. For instance, feeling anxious before a presentation might signal that you care about doing well. However, if left unchecked, this anxiety can spiral into self-doubt and fear, preventing you from performing at your best. Recognizing this duality allows us to use emotions as tools rather than being controlled by them. The key to navigating the mind's dual nature is awareness. By observing your thoughts and emotions without immediately reacting to them, you create space to choose how to respond. This practice, often referred to as mindfulness, is a cornerstone of mental mastery. It allows you to separate yourself from the stories your mind tells and to see them for what they are: temporary, often unreliable, and subject to change. The mind is not inherently good or bad. It is a tool, and like any tool, its effectiveness depends on how it is used. When we learn to harness its power, the mind becomes a source of strength, clarity, and purpose. But when we allow it to run unchecked, it can lead us astray, creating unnecessary suffering and holding us back from our potential. The question is not whether the mind will influence your life. It will. The real question is whether you will take control of it or let it control you. By understanding the mind's dual nature, you take the first step toward reclaiming that control. 2. Insights from ancient wisdom and modern science. Throughout history, some of the greatest minds have grappled with the question of how to master the mind. Ancient philosophers, particularly the Stoics, offered profound insights into the workings of the human mind. Their teachings remain relevant today, especially when paired with modern scientific discoveries about how our brains function. Together, these perspectives provide a roadmap for understanding and improving our mental state. The Stoics believed that the mind is the key to a good life. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote extensively about the importance of controlling one's thoughts. He reminded himself daily that external events have no power over the mind unless we allow them to. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength, he wrote in his meditations. This simple yet profound idea forms the foundation of Stoic philosophy. Our thoughts, not our circumstances, determine our happiness. Epictetus, another prominent Stoic, taught that suffering does not come from events themselves, but from the judgments we attach to them. For example, losing a job is not inherently good or bad. It is our interpretation of the event that creates emotional distress. If we see it as a failure, we may feel shame or despair. But if we view it as an opportunity to grow or explore new paths, we can approach the situation with optimism. This shift in perspective is at the heart of Stoic practice. Seneca, too, emphasized the importance of examining our thoughts. He observed that people often suffer more in their imagination than in reality. A person might spend days worrying about a potential problem only to find that it never happens, yet the mental anguish they experienced was real. Seneca's advice was to focus on the present moment and to question the validity of our fears. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality, he wrote. Modern neuroscience supports these ancient insights. Research shows that our thoughts are shaped by habits, past experiences, and unconscious biases. These mental patterns, known as cognitive schemas, influence how we interpret the world. For example, if someone has experienced rejection in the past, they may develop a schema that leads them to expect rejection in future situations. This expectation can create a self-fulfilling prophecy, as they may act in ways that increase the likelihood of being rejected. One of the most fascinating discoveries in neuroscience is the concept of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt throughout life. This means that our thought patterns are not fixed. They can be rewired through consistent effort. For instance, practicing gratitude can strengthen neural pathways associated with positive thinking, while challenging negative thoughts can weaken the pathways that reinforce pessimism. This aligns with the Stoic belief that mental habits can be cultivated through practice and discipline. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, a widely used psychological approach, also draws on principles similar to those of the Stoics. CBT teaches individuals to identify and challenge cognitive distortions, patterns of thinking that are irrational or unhelpful. For example, someone who engages in catastrophizing might assume that a minor setback will lead to a complete failure. CBT helps them reframe this thought, recognizing that setbacks are a normal part of life and do not define their overall success. This process mirrors the Stoic practice of questioning and reframing thoughts. Another area where modern science aligns with Stoic philosophy is the role of mindfulness. Mindfulness involves observing one's thoughts and emotions without judgment, creating space to respond rather than react. This practice helps individuals detach from their thoughts, recognizing that they are not their thoughts, but the observer of them. Marcus Aurelius practiced a form of mindfulness by writing daily reflections, reminding himself to maintain perspective and not be swayed by fleeting emotions. The Stoics also understood the importance of focusing on what is within our control. This idea is echoed in modern psychology, which emphasizes the benefits of locus of control, the degree to which people believe they have control over their lives. Those with an internal locus of control, who focus on their own actions and responses, tend to be more resilient and less prone to anxiety. In contrast, those with an external locus of control, who attribute their circumstances to external factors, often feel powerless and overwhelmed. For example, imagine two people stuck in traffic. One person becomes angry and frustrated, blaming the situation for ruining their day. The other person accepts that the traffic is beyond their control and uses the time to listen to an audiobook or reflect on their thoughts. The difference lies not in the situation, but in their mindset. The Stoics would argue that the second person has mastered their mind, while the first person is a prisoner of their emotions. The combination of ancient wisdom and modern science provides a powerful framework for understanding the mind. The Stoics teach us to question our thoughts, focus on what we can control, and cultivate mental discipline. Neuroscience and psychology show us how these practices can rewire the brain, creating new habits and improving mental well-being. Together, they remind us that while the mind can be a source of suffering, it can also be a source of strength if we learn to master it. The insights from ancient philosophy and modern science converge on a single truth. The mind is not a passive observer of reality. It is an active force that shapes our experience of the world. By taking control of this force, we can transform our lives. The question is, will you let your mind control you, or will you take charge of it? 3. The role of emotions. Emotions are an integral part of the human experience. They color our perceptions, influence our decisions, and shape our relationships. Yet as powerful as emotions are, they are not always reliable. They are signals, not facts, reactions shaped by our perceptions, past experiences, and unconscious biases. understanding the role of emotions is essential for mastering the mind. Imagine you're walking through a forest and hear a rustling in the bushes. Your heart races, your muscles tense, and your mind jumps to the conclusion that a dangerous animal is nearby. This emotional response is a survival mechanism designed to protect you from potential threats. But what if the rustling is just the wind or a harmless bird? The emotion of fear, while useful in some situations, is not always an accurate reflection of reality. The Stoics recognized this. They taught that emotions are natural but should not be allowed to dictate our actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." In other words, it is not the event itself that causes emotional distress, but our interpretation of it. Seneca also emphasized the importance of examining our emotions. He observed that people often react impulsively, allowing their emotions to control them. For example, anger might lead someone to say or do something they later regret. Seneca advised stepping back from intense emotions, giving them time to subside before taking action. "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself," he wrote, highlighting the value of emotional resilience. Modern psychology supports these ideas. Emotions are generated by the brain's limbic system, which processes information quickly and instinctively. While this system is essential for survival, it is not always accurate. For example, anxiety might signal a potential threat, but it can also arise from overthinking or misinterpreting a situation. Recognizing this allows us to question our emotions and respond more thoughtfully. Mindfulness is a powerful tool for managing emotions. By observing emotions without judgment, we create space to choose how to respond. For instance, if you feel anger rising during an argument, mindfulness allows you to pause, recognize the emotion, and decide whether reacting in anger will serve your long-term goals. The Stoics did not advocate suppressing emotions, but guiding them. They believed that emotions, when understood and managed, could be powerful allies. For example, fear can motivate preparation, and sadness can deepen empathy. The key is to ensure that emotions serve us rather than control us. 4. Focus on what is within your control. One of the most profound lessons from Stoic philosophy is the importance of focusing on what is within your control. Life is full of uncertainties, and many of the things we worry about, other people's opinions, unexpected events, or even the outcomes of our efforts, are beyond our influence. The Stoics believed that much of our suffering comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. By shifting our focus to what we can control, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress and mental exhaustion. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, explained this concept in his Enchiridion. Some things are up to us and some things are not. According to Epictetus, the only things truly within our control are our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Everything else, external events, other people's behavior, or the results of our efforts, lies outside our sphere of influence. This distinction, known as the dichotomy of control, is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and a powerful tool for achieving mental clarity and peace. Imagine you're preparing for an important job interview. You can control how much effort you put into preparing, how you present yourself, and how you respond to questions. But you cannot control whether the interviewer will like you, whether another candidate will be more qualified, or whether the company's hiring needs might change. If you focus on these uncontrollable factors, you'll likely feel anxious and distracted. However, if you focus on what you can control, your preparation, your mindset, and your performance, you'll approach the interview with greater confidence and composure. Letting go of what you cannot control is not always easy. The mind has a natural tendency to fixate on external factors, replaying scenarios and imagining worst-case outcomes. This is especially true in moments of uncertainty or vulnerability. For example, if you're waiting for the results of a medical test, your mind might obsess over all the possible outcomes, even though worrying won't change the result. In such situations, the Stoics would advise focusing on what you can do in the present moment, whether that's taking care of your health, seeking support from loved ones, or simply practicing patience. The Stoics taught that worrying about the uncontrollable is like trying to stop the wind or change the course of a river. It's a futile effort that only drains your energy and creates unnecessary stress. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that true power lies not in controlling the world around us, but in mastering our own thoughts and actions. Acceptance is a key part of this process. Acceptance does not mean resignation or passivity. It means acknowledging reality as it is, without resistance or denial. For example, if a flight is delayed, you cannot change the airline schedule or make the plane arrive faster. But you can choose how to respond. You might use the extra time to read a book, catch up on work, or simply relax. By accepting the situation and focusing on what you can control, you free yourself from unnecessary frustration and make the best of the circumstances. This principle applies to every area of life. In relationships, for instance, you cannot control how others think, feel, or behave. You might wish for a friend to be more understanding or a partner to communicate better, but their actions are ultimately beyond your control. What you can control is how you communicate, how you set boundaries, and how you respond to their behavior. By focusing on your own actions, you can maintain your sense of agency and avoid being consumed by frustration or disappointment. In the workplace, the same principle holds true. You cannot control your boss's decisions, your co-workers' attitudes, or the company's policies, but you can control your work ethic, your attitude, and how you handle challenges. For example, if a project doesn't go as planned, you can choose to learn from the experience and improve for the future. By focusing on what you can control, you not only reduce stress, but also position yourself as a proactive and resilient individual. Health is another area where this principle is especially relevant. While you cannot control every aspect of your health, such as genetic predispositions or unforeseen illnesses, you can control your lifestyle choices. Eating nutritious food, exercising regularly, and managing stress are all within your power. By focusing on these factors, you can improve your overall well-being and reduce the impact of uncontrollable health issues. The benefits of focusing on what you can control are profound. First, it reduces anxiety. Worrying about the uncontrollable creates unnecessary stress and mental clutter. By letting go of these concerns, you free yourself from the burden of trying to control the uncontrollable. Second, it increases resilience. When you focus on your actions and responses, you build the mental strength to adapt and persevere, even in difficult circumstances. Third, it brings clarity. When you stop fixating on external factors, you gain a clearer sense of what truly matters and where to direct your energy. Finally, it empowers you. Recognizing that you have control over your thoughts, actions, and attitudes gives you a sense of agency and purpose. To make this principle a part of your daily life, consider adopting a few simple practices. Start each morning with a reflection on what is within your control. Write down 3 actions you can take to make the day productive and meaningful. For example, you might decide to focus on completing a specific task, practicing patience in a challenging situation, or expressing gratitude to someone you care about. At the end of the day, take a few minutes to review how well you focused on what you could control. Acknowledge your efforts and consider how you can improve tomorrow. Another helpful practice is to use mantras or affirmations to remind yourself of this principle. For example, you might repeat to yourself, "I control my actions, not the outcome," or "Let me focus on what I can change." These simple phrases can help ground you in moments of stress or uncertainty, bringing your attention back to what truly matters. Mindfulness is also a powerful tool for staying focused on the present moment. When you notice your mind drifting toward worries about the uncontrollable, gently bring your focus back to the here and now. For example, if you're feeling anxious about an upcoming event, take a few deep breaths and remind yourself that the future is not yet here. Focus on what you can do in the present moment to prepare or stay calm. The Stoics understood that true freedom comes not from controlling the world, but from mastering the mind. By focusing on what you can control, you free yourself from the mental clutter of worrying about external factors. This practice not only reduces stress, but also empowers you to live with greater intention and purpose. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By choosing to focus on what you can control, you take the first step toward a more peaceful and fulfilling life. 5. Focusing on what you can control. Life is full of uncertainties. Every day we encounter situations that are beyond our control, whether it's the weather, the actions of others, or unexpected events that disrupt our plans. These uncontrollable factors can easily overwhelm us, leaving us feeling powerless and frustrated. But what if we shifted our focus? What if, instead of worrying about what we can't control, we directed our energy toward what we can? This is one of the most powerful lessons from Stoic philosophy, the importance of focusing on what is within our control. The Stoics believed that much of our suffering comes from trying to control things that are inherently uncontrollable. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, explained this idea in his Enchiridion. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. According to Epictetus, the only things truly within our control are our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Everything else, external events, other people's opinions, or even the outcomes of our efforts, is beyond our influence. This distinction is what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control. Imagine you're preparing for an important presentation at work. You can control how much effort you put into preparing, how you organize your materials, and how you practice your delivery. But you cannot control how your audience will react, whether the technology will work perfectly, or whether someone will interrupt with a difficult question. If you focus on these uncontrollable factors, you'll likely feel anxious and distracted. But if you focus on what you can control, your preparation and your mindset, you'll approach the presentation with greater confidence and clarity. Letting go of what you cannot control is not easy. The mind has a natural tendency to fixate on external factors, replaying scenarios and imagining worst-case outcomes. This is especially true when we feel uncertain or vulnerable. For example, if you're waiting to hear back about a job application, your mind might obsess over whether the employer liked your resume or whether another candidate is more qualified. But these are things you cannot control. What you can control is how you spend your time while waiting, perhaps by applying for other jobs, improving your skills, or preparing for future interviews. The Stoics taught that worrying about the uncontrollable is like trying to stop the wind or change the course of a river. It's a futile effort that only drains your energy and creates unnecessary stress. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that true power lies not in controlling the world around us, but in mastering our own thoughts and actions. Acceptance is a key part of this process. Acceptance does not mean resignation or passivity. It means acknowledging reality as it is, without resistance or denial. For example, if a flight is delayed, you cannot change the airline's schedule or make the plane arrive faster, but you can choose how to respond. You might use the extra time to read a book, catch up on work, or simply relax. By accepting the situation and focusing on what you can control, you free yourself from unnecessary frustration. This principle applies to every area of life. In relationships, for instance, you cannot control how others think, feel, or behave. You might wish for a friend to be more understanding or a partner to communicate better, but their actions are ultimately beyond your control. What you can control is how you communicate, how you set boundaries, and how you respond to their behavior. By focusing on your own actions, you can maintain your sense of agency and avoid being consumed by frustration or disappointment. In the workplace, the same principle holds true. You cannot control your boss's decisions, your co-workers' attitudes, or the company's policies. But you can control your work ethic, your attitude, and how you handle challenges. For example, if a project doesn't go as planned, you can choose to learn from the experience and improve for the future. By focusing on what you can control, you not only reduce stress, but also position yourself as a proactive and resilient individual. Health is another area where this principle is especially relevant. While you cannot control every aspect of your health, such as genetic predispositions or unforeseen illnesses, you can control your lifestyle choices. Eating nutritious food, exercising regularly, and managing stress are all within your power. By focusing on these factors, you can improve your overall well-being and reduce the impact of uncontrollable health issues. The benefits of focusing on what you can control are profound. First, it reduces anxiety. Worrying about the uncontrollable creates unnecessary stress and mental clutter. By letting go of these concerns, you free yourself from the burden of trying to control the uncontrollable. Second, it increases resilience. When you focus on your actions and responses, you build the mental strength to adapt and persevere, even in difficult circumstances. Third, it brings clarity. When you stop fixating on external factors, you gain a clearer sense of what truly matters and where to direct your energy. Finally, it empowers you. Recognizing that you have control over your thoughts, actions, and attitudes gives you a sense of agency and purpose. To make this principle a part of your daily life, consider adopting a few simple practices. Start each morning with a reflection on what is within your control. Write down 3 actions you can take to make the day productive and meaningful. For example, you might decide to focus on completing a specific task, practicing patience in a challenging situation, or expressing gratitude to someone you care about. At the end of the day, take a few minutes to review how well you focused on what you could control. Acknowledge your efforts and consider how you can improve tomorrow. Another helpful practice is to use mantras or affirmations to remind yourself of this principle. For example, you might repeat to yourself, "I control my actions, not the outcome," or "Let me focus on what I can change." These simple phrases can help ground you in moments of stress or uncertainty, bringing your attention back to what truly matters. Mindfulness is also a powerful tool for staying focused on the present moment. When you notice your mind drifting toward worries about the uncontrollable, gently bring your focus back to the here and now. For example, if you're feeling anxious about an upcoming event, take a few deep breaths and remind yourself that the future is not yet here. Focus on what you can do in the present moment to prepare or stay calm. The Stoics understood that true freedom comes not from controlling the world, but from mastering the mind. By focusing on what you can control, you free yourself from the mental clutter of worrying about external factors. This practice not only reduces stress, but also empowers you to live with greater intention and purpose. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By choosing to focus on what you can control, you take the first step toward a more peaceful and fulfilling life. 6. Practical takeaways and applications. Understanding the principles of mental mastery is one thing, but applying them in daily life is another. The Stoics believed that philosophy was not just a theoretical exercise, but a practical guide for living. Their teachings were meant to be applied in the real world, helping individuals navigate challenges, build resilience, and live with purpose. To truly make your mind work for you, it's essential to take these ideas and turn them into actionable steps. Let's explore how you can integrate these practices into your daily life. One of the most effective ways to start mastering your mind is to begin each day with intention. The way you start your morning sets the tone for the rest of the day. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius, for example, would reflect each morning on the challenges he might face and the virtues he wanted to embody. He reminded himself that he would encounter people who were meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. This wasn't pessimism, it was preparation. By anticipating difficulties, he could approach them with patience and self-control. You can adopt a similar practice by taking a few minutes each morning to reflect on your goals and intentions for the day. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? How can I respond to challenges with grace and resilience? Writing down your thoughts in a journal can help solidify this habit. For example, you might write, "Today, I will focus on being patient and kind even when things don't go as planned." This simple practice helps you start the day with clarity and purpose. Another powerful practice is cultivating gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have, helping you develop a more positive and balanced perspective. The Stoics believed in appreciating the present moment and the blessings it holds. Seneca wrote, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has not, but rejoicing the good that exists alongside them." To practice gratitude, set aside a few minutes each day to reflect on what you're thankful for. This could be as simple as appreciating a sunny day, a kind gesture from a friend, or the opportunity to learn something new. Writing down 3 things you're grateful for in a journal can help reinforce this habit. Over time, you'll find that gratitude becomes a natural part of your thought process, helping you approach life with a sense of abundance rather than scarcity. Life is full of challenges, but the way you perceive them can make all the difference. The Stoics believed that adversity is not something to be feared, but an opportunity for growth. Epictetus taught that challenges are like weights in a gym. They may be difficult, but they make us stronger. He wrote, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are. This perspective encourages us to see obstacles not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones." The next time you face a challenge, try reframing it as an opportunity to learn or grow. For example, if you're dealing with a difficult co-worker, see it as a chance to practice patience and improve your communication skills. If you experience a setback, view it as an opportunity to reassess your goals and strategies. This shift in perspective not only reduces stress, but also empowers you to take constructive action. Challenges, when approached with the right mindset, can become some of life's greatest teachers. Big changes often start with small, consistent actions. The Stoics understood that progress is made one step at a time. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do every act of your life as though it were the last act of your life." This advice encourages us to approach each moment with intention and care, recognizing that even small actions can have a significant impact over time. For example, if you want to build mental resilience, start with a small habit like practicing mindfulness for 5 minutes each day. Over time, these small habits can build momentum, leading to meaningful and lasting change. Another important takeaway from Stoic philosophy is the idea of detaching from outcomes. The Stoics believed that while we can control our actions, we cannot control the results. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." This mindset helps us focus on the process rather than the result, reducing anxiety and allowing us to find satisfaction in our efforts. To practice detachment, focus on doing your best in any given situation without becoming overly attached to the result. For example, if you're working on a project, put in your best effort and take pride in the process, regardless of whether the outcome meets your expectations. This approach not only reduces stress, but also allows you to enjoy the journey rather than fixating on the destination. Detachment is not about giving up. It's about recognizing that some things are beyond your control and finding peace in that understanding. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with information, from social media, news outlets, advertisements, and more. These external influences can shape our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, often without us realizing it. The Stoics warned against allowing negative or unhelpful influences to corrupt the mind. Marcus Aurelius advised, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This means that the content we consume and the people we surround ourselves with have a profound impact on our mental state. To protect your mind, be intentional about the information you consume. Ask yourself, does this content align with my values? Does it inspire me or drain me? Limit your exposure to negative or sensationalized media, and instead seek out content that uplifts and educates you. Surround yourself with people who share your values and encourage your growth. By filtering external influences, you create a mental environment that supports clarity and positivity. Growth often comes from stepping outside of your comfort zone. The Stoics believed that adversity is an opportunity to build resilience and strength. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Modern psychology supports this idea, showing that exposure to manageable levels of stress can increase mental toughness and adaptability. To embrace discomfort, start by identifying areas in your life where fear or avoidance is holding you back. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, challenge yourself to give a short presentation to a small group. Gradually increase the difficulty of these challenges over time. Each step you take outside your comfort zone builds confidence and reinforces the belief that you are capable of handling difficult situations. Finally, the Stoics believed in the power of self-reflection as a tool for growth. At the end of each day, they would review their actions, thoughts, and decisions, asking themselves what they did well and what they could improve. Seneca wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I have done and said. This practice of reflection helps you learn from your experiences and make better choices in the future." You can adopt a similar practice by setting aside a few minutes each evening to reflect on your day. Ask yourself, what went well today? What challenges did I face and how did I respond? What can I do differently tomorrow? Writing down your reflections in a journal can help you track your progress and identify patterns in your thoughts and behaviors. Over time, this habit of self-reflection can lead to greater self-awareness and personal growth. By applying these practical takeaways, you can begin to transform your mindset and take control of your mental state. The Stoics understood that philosophy is not just about thinking, but about doing. It's about taking small, consistent steps each day to live with greater clarity, resilience, and purpose. The question is, what will you do today to make your mind work for you? 7. Conclusion and final reflection. As we reach the end of our exploration into the mastery of the mind, it's essential to reflect on the journey we've taken together. The teachings of Stoicism, combined with insights from modern psychology, provide a powerful framework for understanding and improving our mental state. The principles we've discussed are not merely theoretical, they are practical tools that can help you navigate the complexities of life with greater clarity, resilience, and purpose. The mind is a powerful tool, capable of shaping our reality in profound ways. It can either empower us to achieve our goals or trap us in cycles of fear and self-doubt. The question we must continually ask ourselves is my mind working for me or against me? By applying the principles of Stoicism and focusing on what we can control, we can reclaim our mental energy and direct it toward meaningful action. Throughout this video, we've explored various techniques for mental mastery, from questioning our thoughts and practicing mindfulness to reframing challenges and embracing discomfort. Each technique offers a pathway to greater self-awareness and control. The Stoics understood that mental discipline is not a destination, but a lifelong practice. It requires consistent effort, reflection, and a willingness to learn from our experiences. As you move forward, consider how you can integrate these practices into your daily life. Start each day with intention, reflecting on your goals and values. Cultivate gratitude by acknowledging the positive aspects of your life, no matter how small. Reframe challenges as opportunities for growth, and focus on the actions you can take rather than the outcomes you cannot control. By doing so, you'll find that your mindset begins to shift, allowing you to approach life's challenges with a sense of empowerment and resilience. Remember that the journey to mastering the mind is not always easy. There will be days when self-doubt creeps in, when external circumstances feel overwhelming, or when old thought patterns resurface. In these moments, it's crucial to practice self-compassion, acknowledge that you are human and that growth takes time. The Stoics believed in the importance of patience and perseverance. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Embrace the obstacles you encounter as opportunities to strengthen your mental resilience. In conclusion, the power to shape your reality lies within you. By mastering your thoughts and emotions, you can create a life of intention and purpose. The teachings of Stoicism offer a timeless guide for navigating the complexities of the human experience. By embracing these principles and applying them in your daily life, you can unlock your full potential and live with greater wisdom, courage, and peace.